It's late. Not late enough that you're asleep, not early enough that you're productive. So you wander into the kitchen, you open the fridge, you stare for a second, then pull out some leftovers. You toss them into the microwave. Wait. A minute later, you're sitting beneath that familiar yellow glow that somehow makes every midnight snack feel strangely important. Nothing unusual about that. At least, that's what it feels like. But zoom out for a moment. And that tiny routine becomes one of the strangest behaviors any animal on Earth has ever developed. Think about it. A wolf finds food and eats it. A deer finds food and eats it. A chimpanzee finds food and eats it. Find, bite, swallow. Simple. Humans don't do that. We gather food. We cut it. We heat it. We season it. Sometimes we spend an entire hour transforming it before taking the first bite. Wait, why? Why does a species born in nature spend part of every day deliberately changing its food before eating it? Researchers estimate that more than 8 million animal species have existed on this planet. Only one routinely cooks. Not because it has to, because it chooses to. And that raises a question hiding in plain sight. If eating is one of the oldest behaviors in life, why are humans the only species that seem unwilling to eat food exactly as nature made it? The answer turns out to be bigger than dinner. Much bigger. From an evolutionary perspective, cooking looks like a terrible idea. Think about everything it requires. Fuel, time, attention. You have to stay in one place long enough to prepare the food instead of simply eating it. Every step adds cost, and nature usually hates unnecessary costs. Most animals follow a simple rule: maximum energy for minimum effort. That's survival economics. So why would our ancestors do the opposite? Why find food, then spend even more energy changing it? A child might ask the obvious question: why not just eat it? Funny enough, that's exactly the right question. Because once you ask it, you run straight into one of the biggest mysteries in human evolution. Your brain. The adult human brain makes up only a small fraction of body weight, yet researchers estimate it consumes around 20% of the body's resting energy. That's expensive. Every thought costs something. Every memory costs something. Every decision costs something. Big brains don't come cheap. Not bigger muscles, bigger brains. Not stronger jaws, more neurons. And here's the mystery. Where did all that energy come from? To answer that, we need to travel back nearly 2 million years and meet a creature walking across East Africa, carrying the first clues inside its own body. Imagine East Africa, somewhere between 1 and 2 million years ago. The world is changing. Forests are shrinking. Grasslands are spreading. And moving across those landscapes is a species that looks oddly familiar if you stare long enough. Homo erectus. Not quite human. Not quite ape. Something in between. Fossil evidence suggests these early humans were taller than the species that came before them. They could travel farther, move more efficiently, survive in harsher environments. But the most important transformation wasn't happening on the outside. It was happening beneath the skin. For years, researchers noticed a strange pattern. As human ancestors evolved, their brains became larger. At almost the same time, their teeth became smaller. their jaws became lighter. Their digestive systems appear to have become less massive than those of other great apes. That combination shouldn't work. In evolutionary terms, it's almost contradictory. One change demands more energy. The other reduces the body's ability to process tough, raw foods. A paradox. Unless the food itself changed, not the discovery of fire, the dependence on food transformed by heat. Researchers still debate exactly when cooking became widespread. But current evidence points toward a gradual shift in which food increasingly began its digestion before it ever entered the body. And once that happened, everything changed. Because the stomach no longer had to do all the work. A trade was taking place. Less gut, more brain. Less chewing, more thinking. Before cooking transformed cities, agriculture, and civilization, it transformed the human body. To understand why that matters, compare yourself to one of your closest living relatives, the mountain gorilla. A gorilla wakes up hungry. It eats, then it keeps eating. And later, it eats some more. Leaves, stems, shoots, day after day after day. Researchers studying great apes have found that feeding occupies a huge portion of their waking lives, not because they're inefficient, because raw plant material is hard work. Every bite carries a hidden cost. Chew, grind, break it down, again, and again. And again. The food may be abundant, but unlocking energy from it takes time. Lots of time. You can actually see that cost written into a gorilla's body. Massive jaws, powerful chewing muscles, large digestive chambers built to ferment tough vegetation. Everything about the animal is designed to process food in its original state. Humans look different. Our teeth are smaller. Our jaws are weaker. Our digestive systems are shorter than those of other great apes. At first glance, that sounds like a downgrade. It isn't. It's evidence. Evidence that some of the digestive work is happening somewhere else. Not in another organ. Not in another animal. In the food itself. Through heat. Cooking is digestion outside the body. That single idea changes the entire story. Because the moment food begins breaking down before you eat it, your body gets a discount. Less effort after the meal. More energy available afterward. Energy that can be redirected into movement. Into exploration, into learning, into thought. Raw food is easy to find. The expensive part comes later. Raw food is cheap to collect, but costly to digest. Now let's head toward the region around Lake Turkana. Researchers believe Homo erectus populations moved through environments filled with roots, tubers, and underground plants storing energy beneath the soil. There was just one problem. The energy was there, but much of it was locked away. Locked inside structures that resisted digestion. Locked behind biological defenses built by plants over millions of years. Locked where hungry humans couldn't easily reach it. Then heat entered the story. Not magic. Chemistry. When starchy foods are heated, their internal structures begin to loosen. Digestive enzymes gain easier access. More stored calories become available. The food doesn't suddenly contain extra energy. The energy was already there. Heat simply made it easier to reach. That's the key insight. Cooking isn't adding energy to food. It's unlocking energy that was trapped inside all along. Imagine finding a treasure chest. You didn't create the treasure. You simply found a way to open it. Heat was that key. And once humans learned how to unlock calories more efficiently, the economics of survival began to shift. More calories from the same food, more nutrition from the same effort, more reward from the same landscape. 3 advantages from a single change. Suddenly, cooking doesn't look wasteful anymore. It looks ingenious. Because the fire wasn't feeding humans, the food was. Fire simply opened the door. And if you're still with me, subscribe, because the next chapter explains why your brain may owe its existence to dinner. Now leave the grasslands behind and move toward the coast. Thousands of years later, prehistoric communities along the shores of southern Africa were gathering a different kind of food. Fish. Shellfish, marine animals collected from the edge of the sea. At first glance, it looks like an easy source of nutrition. But raw food comes with risks. Parasites. Bacteria. Disease. Invisible threats hiding inside an otherwise valuable meal. Heat changed the equation. By cooking food, people reduced those risks and made meals safer to share. And then something unexpected happened. Cooking stopped being only about food. It started becoming about people. Groups gathered where food was prepared, not because they were fascinated by fire, because they were drawn to what fire made possible. Meals became events. Events became routines. Routines became relationships. This is where the story grows beyond calories. Because cooking accomplished something no stomach ever could. It synchronized human lives. One person gathered. One person prepared. One person shared. The meal belonged to everyone. Researchers still debate exactly how these social transformations unfolded, but current evidence suggests food preparation played an important role in cooperation, community building, and stronger social bonds. Not isolation, connection. Not eating alone, eating together. Not survival for one, survival for many. First we changed food, then food changed us. And the story that began as a search for calories slowly became a story about society itself. The consequences would echo far beyond the dinner fire. By now, there's an objection that naturally comes to mind. And honestly, it's a fair one. Are humans truly the only animals that have any relationship with heat and food? Not exactly. Nature is rarely that simple. Researchers have observed Japanese macaques doing surprisingly sophisticated things with food before eating it. In Australia, reports suggest certain birds of prey may take advantage of wildfires while hunting, using flames in ways that still fascinate scientists today. So, does that mean other animals cook? Wait, not quite. There's a huge difference between benefiting from heat and deliberately controlling it. A wildfire isn't a kitchen. A coincidence isn't a tradition. An isolated behavior isn't a civilization. What makes humans different isn't that we discovered heat. It's that we mastered it. We repeated it. We passed it on, parent to child, group to group, generation after generation after generation. And that's where evolution starts paying attention. Because evolution isn't transformed by a single clever moment, it's transformed by behaviors that become reliable enough to reshape bodies, habits, and entire ways of life. Using heat once in a while is remarkable. Building a species around it is something entirely different. And now we arrive at the part that flips the entire story upside down. Most people assume cooking was the result of intelligence. Humans became smart. Then humans started cooking. Case closed. Sounds reasonable, doesn't it? But what if that's backwards? What if cooking wasn't the consequence of a large brain? What if it helped create one? Researchers continue debating the details, but one influential idea suggests that cooked food dramatically increased the usable energy available to our ancestors while reducing the biological effort required to process it. Think about two people eating exactly the same amount of food. One eats it raw. One eats it cooked. The second person may walk away with more usable calories while spending less energy digesting them. And over evolutionary time, that difference matters. A lot. Because brains are expensive machines. Every memory burns fuel. Every idea burns fuel. Every plan burns fuel. Cooking may have quietly rewritten the energy budget. Less time chewing. Less effort digesting. More energy available for learning, cooperating, experimenting, and teaching. Not because humans became smarter and then learned to cook. Because cooking may have created the conditions that allowed intelligence to grow. That's the reversal. That's the twist. Fire fed food. Food fed brains. Brains changed the world. A simple chain. An extraordinary outcome. Humans did not cook because they had big brains. Big brains may have emerged because humans cooked. Now bring all of this back to yourself. Not Homo erectus. Not prehistoric coastlines. You. Tonight. Tomorrow. Maybe even a few hours from now. You'll probably do the same thing humans have been doing for hundreds of thousands of generations. You'll warm up leftovers. You'll toast bread. You'll boil water for coffee, tea, or dinner. Nothing dramatic. Nothing heroic. Just another ordinary moment. Or at least it feels ordinary. Because every time you transform food before eating it, you're repeating a ritual older than recorded history. The distance between you and those early humans is enormous. Different languages. Different technologies. Different worlds. Yet somehow the behavior remains familiar. You take food, you change it, you share it. The pattern survives. Imagine a chain stretching backward through time. Parent to child, teacher to student, friend to friend. An unbroken line of human lives reaching so far into the past that its beginning disappears from view. And somewhere near the start of that chain, someone discovered a profound truth. Change the food, and you change the future. That discovery kept moving forward, across continents, across generations, across millennia, until it reached you. Right here. Right now. Every meal is a tiny act of evolution repeated across generations. Every dinner carries a memory older than history itself. You're not just eating. You're participating in one of humanity's oldest experiments. Think back to the beginning. Late at night, a quiet kitchen, a refrigerator door opening, leftovers waiting inside, a few minutes of heat, a small meal before sleep. When we started this story, that moment felt completely ordinary. Now it feels different. Because hidden inside that routine is one of the deepest stories ever told about our species. Millions of species have lived on Earth. They crawled, swam, hunted, grazed, climbed, and flew. They adapted to nature. They survived within nature. They responded to whatever nature gave them. Humans took a different path. We changed nature before consuming it. Not by accident, by intention. Not once, repeatedly. Not as individuals, as a species. Imagine trying to explain cooking to a gorilla. We take perfectly edible food, expose it to controlled heat, wait patiently, and only then eat it. The idea sounds absurd, almost ridiculous. And yet, that strange habit may have helped make everything else possible. Larger brains, longer childhoods, shared meals, shared stories, shared knowledge. The meal was never just the meal. That's the part that's easy to miss. What began as a way of unlocking calories became a way of unlocking humanity itself. So the next time you stand in your kitchen, waiting for food to warm up, remember what you're actually looking at. Not dinner. A biological strategy. A cultural inheritance. A piece of evolutionary history still alive in your hands. And somewhere between the warmth of that meal and the steam rising from it lives a story nearly 2 million years old. The story of a species that learned to reshape nature and, in the process, reshaped itself. We shaped fire, then fire shaped us. Subscribe